Years after a really hard season, I started decluttering and I realized that so much of my clutter was really just poverty habits. Poverty views everything from scarcity, and scarcity has a limited vision. But privilege sees opportunity and goes after it. When I decided to adopt a privileged mindset, I saw that these 7 habits only do one thing: keep you in scarcity. Unlearning them made the biggest difference in my life, and I think it's gonna do the same for you. The first one is trusting your stuff more than yourself. I want you to look around your home and I want you to ask yourself how many things you are holding on to with this idea of, what if I need it later? Poverty, while we typically only see it as a condition, it becomes so much more than that. It's a way of thinking. It only sees 2 things: what matters today and what could go wrong tomorrow. Because of what past you has been through, current you is constantly trying to protect future you. Our fears of the future get projected onto things, and so we irrationally make stuff responsible for protecting future you, future us. Privileged women don't believe that their security comes from fear-based hoarding, and so they don't put their faith in stuff. The word privilege gets thrown around in a lot of gross ways, but it really just means having access to upgraded experiences. Here's the thing: you don't need money or looks or whatever to have that access. You simply have to decide that you can expect more than the bare minimum and that your life is worth intentionally building, and so you start living that way. When I started decluttering, I found so many hidden treasures, things that I had no clue that I still had, that I had completely forgotten about, but I was immediately able to figure out a use or a potential need for them because I was so uncomfortable parting ways with things. And it hit me that every single time I kept these things just in case, I was acting like future me was not going to be able to manage life in case something went down. I needed it, even though I had never come across a situation where I needed it. Now, please hear, this is not about emergency preparation. I am talking about the stuff that sits up untouched, but you constantly rationalize why you need it when you don't. That's not preparation. That's fear. It's scarcity. So here's your challenge for the week. I don't want you to focus on the stuff. I want you to focus on the story. Every time you look at something that you know you should let go, I want you to ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about why I need this? That's going to give you insight into the belief that is attached to this object. Letting guilt decide what you keep. In seasons of lack, nothing feels disposable, and so we hold on to everything. Every time you think about getting rid of them, guilt steps in and says, but you spent good money on that. That was a gift. Somebody thought about you. Oh, it would be wasteful to let this go. Congratulations. Now you have a life that has been curated by guilt and scarcity. And babes, guilt is a terrible decision maker. Many times we confuse punishment with responsibility. We often don't verbalize it that way, but somewhere in our brain, we are thinking, I should have to look at it forever. But why? How does that help anyone? The same thing happens with gifts. We think that getting rid of them means that we are rejecting the person, but once the gift has been received and appreciated and it served its purpose, it's done its job. You don't have to keep proving your gratitude by storing something that you don't even want. One of the most freeing moments of this for me was when my hubby bought me something that I didn't really like. And he could tell that I didn't really like it, even though I didn't want to say anything about it. And what he told me was that it was okay to let it go. It helped me to really put things into perspective because I realized that I wouldn't want him to keep something and feel forced to have to keep something that he didn't really like just because I gave it to him. That's not love. That's pressure. So here's your challenge. I want you to walk through your house and I want you to notice all of the things that you don't actually want anymore. And then I want you to ask yourself, does keeping this reflect the home that I want, or does it reflect regret? Settling for good enough. People with poverty mindsets settle. In every part of their lives, they settle. They dream of doing all the things, writing the book, starting the business, going back to school, getting organized, whatever it is, but they never do it. They've convinced themselves that maybe good enough is good enough. I have shared many times that I went through a season that was really hard And it was traumatic. It changed how I thought and how I showed up. And so I settled because I was so scared of losing anything else. At the time, I was aware that I was settling for less in my life, but I couldn't fully see the other side of it. And I had no desire to rock the boat anymore in my life. A lot of people stay in that place. In fact, I know a lot of people who stay in that place. And what happens is if you don't catch it and don't course correct, you get stuck in this life that was never what you wanted, but became the life that you accepted because you were too afraid to allow yourself more. People with privileged mindsets refuse to settle. People with privileged mindsets understand that every single time they tolerate something that they could change, they reinforce this idea that good enough is all they should expect. So here's your challenge for the week. I want you to notice every single time that you are about to settle. Maybe you will hear yourself saying, it's fine. It'll do. I guess it's good enough. Pause. And then I want you to ask yourself, am I making a wise compromise, or have I simply gotten comfortable settling? Sometimes good enough really is good enough, but sometimes and often it is just the language that scarcity uses to convince us to stop expecting more. Not investing in everyday life. A poverty mindset doesn't allow you to invest in everyday life. Like I said earlier, scarcity only can see what matters today and what can go wrong tomorrow. Everyday life doesn't fit in either category. It's not an emergency and it's not a threat. So it gets ignored completely. What are some real ways that this looks like? You could be using towels that have holes in them. You wear bras that have lost all their support. Your mantra is, it's not that bad. And your entire everyday life is made up of things that are not that bad. Most of these things aren't emergencies. Nothing is technically falling apart, except for those towels. Like, you're functioning. And that's exactly why it gets ignored, because scarcity does not believe that everyday comfort is worth investing in. It waits until something is completely broken before it deserves attention. Now, turn it around. For the most part, we don't do this with guests. If somebody was coming to stay at your house, you would probably pull out the nicer towels or go buy some new ones. You would buy fresh flowers and think about their experience, but you have stopped thinking about your own. A home that is filled with things that serve you well will 100% of the time feel richer than a home that is just filled with stuff you are merely tolerating. Privileged women invest in their everyday life because the everyday is their actual life, not the vacation, not the birthday or the promotion or the someday. All of those moments are few and far between, but the ordinary moments are what make up the majority of your life. Every single day, your environment is giving you signals and teaching you what you believe you deserve. If every touch point of your day says, just make do, eventually that is how you will start thinking about yourself. Here's what I want you to ask yourself this week. What am I using every single day that I just tolerate instead of enjoy? After you identify it, then I want you to ask yourself, what is one small investment that would make my life noticeably better? You do not build a beautiful life by waiting for extraordinary moments. You build it by improving all of the ordinary ones. And honestly, it's true in even the smallest parts of your day. One of the ways that I have intentionally started doing that is with my morning routine, which brings me to today's sponsor. I have been reaching for merit every single morning because it has become one of those routines that makes investing in my everyday feel really simple. Actually, let me just show you. We are starting out with a fresh face. First, we're going in with the Instant Glow Serum. This is truly one of my favorites because it works as a really nice base and it makes my skin feel super hydrated without feeling greasy. Now that that's seeped into my skin, we are now going in with the Uniform, which is their tinted sunscreen. Summer is all about not having heavy stuff on the face. It protects my skin, but it doesn't feel like heavy. Let's see how pretty that is. Now we're going in with the Flush Balm, and this is the color Bespoke. How pretty is that? And then we're going in with the Clean Volume Mascara. Now I'm going in with the lip liner, and this is in the color June. It gives a nice little line. without being overwhelming. Finally, the tinted lip oil. So creamy, so nice without being sticky, which I love about Merit products is that they all just feel so hydrating. This is the look. If you've never ordered from Merit before, every first order comes with their signature makeup bag for free, which is such a nice bonus. So go ahead and check out my Merit favorites and shop exclusive sets that are discounted up to 15% through my link. All right, now back to the video. The next one is pausing until conditions are perfect. Scarcity has this funny way of convincing us that if we can't do something perfectly, then it is not worth doing at all. We tell ourselves things like, I'll declutter when I have a full weekend. I'll start the business once I know exactly what I'm doing. I will finally do X after Z. And there is always another after. The problem with that isn't that these reasons are completely made up. They're real. Life is busy. Money gets tight. Schedules are complicated. The problem is that you started believing that your growth is only allowed to happen under ideal conditions. So unless the stars align perfectly, either you don't start or you quit on yourself over and over again. I see this all the time with all sorts of scenarios. My college students who wait until the end of the day to do their homework when they have a 2-hour chunk of time in the middle of the day where they can at least start it. Clients who feel like if they don't have whole gobs of time to declutter, then what's the point? I've had to take my own advice and apply it to working out because it used to be that if I did not have the full hour to be able to get my whole workout routine done, then did I even really do it? When we say that out loud, it sounds dumb because it is. But we do it all the time with all sorts of things. And then we wonder why our lives never change. Privileged women don't wait for ideal conditions. They look at the life that they actually have and then they ask, what is the version of this that I can do today? Maybe today isn't a 2-hour decluttering session. Maybe it is taking 15 minutes to open and organize the mail. Maybe it isn't running 5 miles, but just taking a walk around the block. The point is they stop making progress, this all or nothing proposition. So think about the one thing that you've been saying that you will do when XYZ. Then we're going to go back to that question. What is the smallest version of this that I can do this week? Not the perfect version, but what's possible? Because your future isn't built on waiting for better and perfect conditions. It's built when you decide to make today count and you keep doing that every single day. Thinking more choices will solve the problem. Scarcity says, maybe this next thing will finally be the thing that changes everything. So instead of deciding, you collect more information, planners, organizing products, YouTube videos, storage bins, research options, time to think, just more. Back to my decluttering example. Say someone wants to declutter, but before they declutter, they spend all of these hours watching YouTube videos and researching the correct method. And you know what happens? Not decluttering. Now, do not misunderstand me. I love books. In fact, I'm actually in the process of writing 2 of them. I make YouTube videos. I have created planners. I have a community called The Collective. And so I genuinely believe in the value of all of these things, but they only have value if they move you to action. Simply reading the book doesn't start the business. Watching the YouTube video doesn't declutter your house. None of those things can do the work for you. They can point the way and they can teach you and encourage you and hold you accountable. But at some point, you have to actually do the thing. Here is the hard, tough love pill that I need you to swallow. Information without implementation is just entertainment. It feels like you're moving forward because your brain is busy or you've spent money. But until you decide to be the person that does the thing, nothing is going to work because your mindset and your behavior has not changed. I mentioned that I have a community called The Collective where we talk about and practice what it means to level up our lives. And I tell people that even though it is only a small investment, don't do it if you're not ready to become the person. It's built for the woman who says, I'm done with my foolishness and I want the guidance and the community because I have decided that I am ready to be someone who implements. Privileged women understand that resources are multipliers. They're not substitutes. The planner multiplies your discipline. The membership multiplies your effort. The book multiplies your understanding, but none of them can replace your willingness to act. So this week, before you fake prepare, ask yourself this: have I fully implemented what I already know? Because the next breakthrough in your life probably isn't hiding in another thing. It's hiding in you implementing something that you've already learned. Seeing money as the highest resource. If you answer yes to any of these, babe, you're thinking with scarcity. You grocery shop at 4 different stores across town to save $15. You spend your entire Saturday trying to fix something that you could have replaced. You let go of something or decide not to do something that requires work but could better your life, yet you spend money on things that feel good in the moment. You spend weeks researching the cheapest option instead of simply making a decision. Our lives are made of different resources. Money is a resource. Time is another. So is energy and health and mental bandwidth and relationships and peace and attention. But a poverty mindset makes money feel like it is the only one of those resources that counts. It makes us feel like if we saved $10 or acquired more stuff, then we are winning. But are we really? Think about it. You do all of the things that save you money and are the most cost effective, and they aren't wasteful, but you don't count the fact that they cost you your time and your energy to play with your kids, read your Bible, go for a walk, declutter your closet, work on your business, improve your life, or even just simply rest. One of the biggest mindset shifts that I had to make was learning the difference between positive convenience and negative convenience. Scarcity has a way of making us believe that if something is convenient, then it's indulgent. So we protect every dollar when it comes to investing in ourselves while giving away hours of our lives without even thinking twice. On top of it, we turn right around and spend money on foolishness, things that don't actually add any value to our lives, but they feel satisfactory in the moment, like a reward for something. Negative convenience is choosing what's easy because you're avoiding discomfort. It feels good today, but it steals from your future. Things like scrolling instead of starting, door dashing because you just don't feel like thinking about dinner, putting something off because it's uncomfortable, buying these little hits of dopamine instead of investing in what will move your life forward. That is convenience that costs you, and it is almost always reactive. Positive convenience removes unnecessary friction so that you have more time and energy and attention for the things that actually matter. This is convenience that invests in your future. Maybe it's grocery pickup or meal delivery service because it gives you another couple of hours back with your family. Maybe it is creating a capsule wardrobe of a few curated pieces so that you stop wasting mental energy trying to figure out what to wear every single morning. These aren't lazy decisions. These are intentional and planned out ones. Something that I have become very, very aware of is the fact that my time, my energy, my health are the most valuable resources that I have. I can make more money. I can replace an object, but I cannot create another hour. So now, instead of asking, what is the cheapest option? I ask, does my spending reflect the woman that I want to be? That question automatically rules out the foolishness because you are not going to spend your money on stupid stuff. If it doesn't reflect the woman that I want to be, then it is not something that I need to be spending money on, period. And so privileged women, they understand that money is one resource among many, and it exists to serve their lives, not the other way around. So they're willing to spend money on things that give them back time or freedom in some way, or that move them toward the life they're trying to build. And again, they are just as intentional on not spending money on the things that simply make them feel better for 5 minutes, but keep them stuck. So this week, I want you to look at your spending through a completely different lens, because if I looked at your bank statement, I could probably tell you what you are committed to. Whereas if I listen to your words, I could probably tell you what you wish you were committed to. The goal is to make those two things line up with one another. So here's what I want you to do. Pay attention to every dollar that you spend, and then ask yourself, do my money habits reflect what I say I value? Do they say that you value growth or health or peace or convenience that creates a better future? Or do they say that you value comfort and distraction and avoiding hard things? Your money goes where your priorities are. And don't give me any cheeky little comments about how my money goes to bills. Girl, you already know what I mean. I'm talking about after that. After you have finished with your bills, the question is whether your priorities match the life that you want to build. These weren't habits that I read about in a book. They were mine, even when finances were good. They were habits that I built when surviving felt like the ceiling and thriving just felt like something that other people got a chance to do. And it was something that I saw when I started decluttering, which makes sense because something that I always say is that clutter is so much more than about what you see in the stuff that's in your home. Decluttering and letting go is about clearing out every scarcity habit and mindset that convinces you that less is all that you can expect. The woman who's actually privileged, she's not the one with the most. She's the one who's just decided that she is worth more. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did and you're not subscribed, like, well, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. I love you so much and I will see you in my next. Bye for now.